Alright, what is up PvE family? It's your boy, PvE Correct God, back at it again for another video. And today we are talking about Masked Saiyan. Let's go, baby. If you know me, this is my favorite leader ever. It's the first leader I ever touched in this game. It's the first, like one of the first cards, period, I ever touched. One quick thing before we get into this video. I just want to say I do have some deck profiles coming this week. People do have lives, unfortunately, unlike me. I just sit at home. But people do have lives, and I've been trying to get schedules matched up with people. So I will have some deck profiles coming later this week. Like we've got Tony, who plays first at the Tulsa Regional. My teammate Tony. Brad, I should be doing today. Brad Brown, who played Mecha, plays sixth. And then I've got a couple of my locals. Everybody's been asking for Rohit. It's going to be more of a tournament recap for his video, but I'll still, also have the information for you also in case you're interested in playing that 21 deck that he played. You can have some of an idea of what matchups look like and how to play the deck. And I've got also Jerry, my buddy Jerry, who plays 7th with King Vegeta in the Sunday regional. I can't remember who that was ran by. I think PPG. Yeah, PPG ran that one. But yeah, I've got those coming for y'all. Don't worry. It's just gonna be a bunch of content this week because after a tournament, there's gonna be a lot of stuff to do. So let's get right back into this. So today we are talking once again about Masked Saiyan, my favorite leader. So yeah, like I said, this is one of the first cards I touched. I will always remember walking into the card store, seeing one of my best friends, Andrew Lucio, walked into that store. He was like, "Hey, you should pick up this starter deck with Masked Saiyan," and I'm like, I didn't know anything. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." I played it for about probably year and a half straight. Like I really almost didn't play anything else. I just kept trying it and trying it because it was my favorite. Eventually I rotated out of it. I believe at that point I rotated to Green Gohan when Set 9 released. And I played Gohan for a while. I came back to Masked Saiyan around Set 10, 11. If I had tested it more, I actually would have been able to do really well with it. I played Black Green, and came Set 12, Set 13 format. It's just, it can't keep up with the meta decks right now. That they're a little bit too broken for him to keep up as it stands. But now, God bless, we've got a reboot incoming, baby. So let's talk about it. At face value, a lot of things might seem like they're not that good. You can counter them pretty easy, but obviously, me having this amount of knowledge, I think will be really helpful. So I hope that I can give you like some really good amount of insight into this. So let's get right into it. So first, we're gonna talk about the leader, of course. So on the front, they basically just added a draw essentially. It's not technically a draw. You're taking a life. It's not necessarily a draw, but to me it is, and it's actually somewhat more valuable to take a life than drawing because when you if you have a leader that takes life, you're not going to need self-awakening necessarily. So you don't have to clog up your deck with like a bunch of self-awakeners, even though they're good most of the time. For a black leader, you can be committing energy to, especially this leader, you can commit that energy you would use for a self-awakener instead for on like crack in space time. Give your leader that double strike crit really early instead of self-awakening. But yeah, I actually really like that they added the life thing. It's going to be really helpful. And then if you don't know what the Masked Saiyan did before, you mill 3 cards, burst 3. They actually, back when it was first released, burst didn't exist, so there's a lot of text, but now you can just put burst 3. And then if you mill a black card, it's crit, it gains crit for the turn, and if you mill a non-black card, it gains 5k. It's really good. Going second turn 1, you can hit somebody with a 30k double crit. It's really solid, like super good. And another thing that I really like is that they changed the awakening to draw 1, untap 1 instead of drawing 2, which is actually huge value. Untap 2 would have been a little bit over the top, I think, based on how aggro decks are. But it's really good. And then on the back, you have your standard auto draw. On attack, you have auto once per turn. You can take a life and I really like this because it goes with the whole spirit boost thing that they're trying to do, so I think it's really cool. You can take a life, and whenever you spirit boost your Unison, you can restand the leader and it loses keyword skills. So basically, you're gonna mill, gain crit, and then it'll lose it if you restand it, which is on awakening turn you can be 25 on the back. So yeah, taking 225 crits is not gonna be good. The good thing about that though is that it negates keyword skills. So you're actually gonna get a second draw when you swing. You're gonna +3 basically, because you're gonna swing as leader, draw, and then when you spirit boost, you'll take a life, which is another plus, and then you'll swing again and draw another card, which is so good. That's actually really good. And then it's the same activate main on the back for burst 3. The leader itself is actually kind of basic. You know, the only really new thing is the draw on the front, and then the spirit boosting on the back. They did change the awakening, but that's not like that warping, I guess. But you know, when you look at the leader face value, it's not, you know, you might think it's not anything crazy, but you know, if you're someone like me that's played the leader for an extremely long time, this is actually really good. And I'll kind of explain it later when I go over like some ideas just to give you guys. But like, there's a lot of value in this leader, especially with the cards that come in the starter deck. So, you know, let's go over those really quick and see what it's all about. So first, we've got the Unison, Dark Masking, Spirit Resonance. Just a little thing, I also really like how they put like Spirit. You know, the whole thing is Spirit Boost, and they put like Spirit and like Spirit Boost in the cards' names. I don't know. I just kind of like that. But it's got the auto like set 10, the set 10 starter deck, go tanks. When you mill it, if your leader's a Black Saiyan only, when you mill it from your deck, you can play it with a marker on it. And then the thing that makes them different from go tanks basically is this once per turn auto. When you remove a marker from it using a spirit boost, you can, your opponent, you don't choose it, your opponent chooses a 1 or less and warps it, which is actually kind of good. You know, it depends on how many people are playing 1-drops in their decks. So that kind of decides the value of this card. Or if you're playing a rainbow version of this deck, this unison has a lot of value compared to Gotenks, because the +2 it's exactly like Gotenks. You discard a card, and then he gains 4,000 power for every color in your energy. I kind of wish that they would have done 5, because 4 I think makes it really awkward. You like turn 1, you can charge one of the dark Broly cards that are red, but they also count as black, to get 2 colors on turn 1 and basically have a swing with a Unison turn 1 if you mill it. But I don't know, it's kind of underwhelming. It is good if there's a +2, because you know it works with a spirit boost, and it makes sense for it not to have some kind of ultimate ability, because I mean, if you're spirit boosting, it's going to be really hard to like gain markers overall. So I think it's really well made. In any non-rainbow version, I would still think that Gotenks is just better, even if you don't get to that ultimate, because you just have a 15k swing every turn when you discard. So it's a solid card overall. So next we've got the Dark Broly. So first thing I will say is that it does kind of annoy me that this Dark Broly, first of all, that it is a Dark Broly, and it's a 30k, and it's red treated as black, so assuming that something like the 7-drop gets hit in the upcoming ban list, Dark Broly can still potentially play Heartfelt play off of this one, which is annoying, but it is a lot worse of a target, at least. It doesn't have protection when it comes down, it doesn't have deflect, so it can get hit by blue and green at least. It's not as good overall. You're not going to gain crit if you play it in Dark Broly. You can't play it in any other way other than through like the ball. So it's very limited if you play it in Dark Broly, but the fact that it can play it is just really annoying. Other than that, in the Masked Saiyan deck, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. This card is really good. I'll talk about it later whenever I'm going over some of the versions, but it's really good. Another red treated as black card means you can splash red. You can splash red into your deck while still being mono black on your energy for stuff like Boo, you know which Boo. Discard 1, draw 2, Boo, and your super combo. So that's really good. And then when you play it, you neg 15 something, which is actually pretty good removal. It's something that decks need nowadays. So the fact that I can put it on this card and just have a halfway solid removal is really good. And then limit 1, spirit boost 1, activate main. If you have 3 or more energy and you send basically one of each color except black from your drop to your warp, which includes itself, I believe. You can send itself as the red card, and then you can play it after using it for that. So I think that's really good. And then it gains crit for the turn, which is also really good. Very good. This allows you for, and you can evolve the 7-drop on this one as well. So there's gonna, like I said, I'll talk about it in a minute when we get to the couple ideas I have. But just like these starter deck cards are just really good. Like once you combine them all together with a leader, like you've got, especially with the Spirit Boost Enigma that was essentially revealed today. Like I think this deck is gonna be instantly tier, maybe not high tier, but it definitely has the power to be a tier deck, especially if you build it and play it correctly. So next up we've got the Spirit Boost Minion, Black Masked Saiyan. I think this is probably the worst card out of the starter deck, and it's still pretty good. You know, it's yellow, so you know you've got that yellow card for Dark Broly, or to get that more rainbow. I still think you would run 3 or 4 copies of this in your deck because it's just a really good card. And I find it really funny that for Masked Saiyan they have to say if your leader cards of Masked Saiyan or Bardock Zeno because it changes characters when you flip it. It's just like a little thing, but it's basically like a black quote unquote card in the deck because it has no specified cost, so it's just good. I think this actually could be a good splash in other decks, yellow decks. It's a really good card. For 1 yellow you can get 2 swings if you have a Unison in play. It's just a solid card. This doesn't need very much explanation. Self Awakener, it's 15k. If you want to awaken a little bit faster, or you want to use this to take a life instead of your leader activate, it's really good. And then you can switch it to active mode with your Spirit Boost. It's just a solid card, but I would put it probably under the other 3. Finally, card that was revealed today. Wow, this card is really freaking good. Masked Saiyan Spirit Boost Enigma. I've seen some people today discussing, BMS and the viability of this card. First of all, literally, these 2 cards remove BMS when you play it. I mean, you can't play Enigma before turn 3, assuming that Dark Broly might remove it, but like your Unison will literally remove it. If you Spirit Boosted this, for example. But like this card is, I mean, this card just makes a deck in my opinion. Like out of all the starter deck cards, this card absolutely just makes a deck. I was waiting for this card to be revealed because I was thinking it needed to be something really good, and it's beautiful. Like this card is absolutely beautiful. Unique dual attack, that's already really good. 15. It's a 5 cost, so it's not like super easy to counterplay or get rid of necessarily unless you use like generic removal like Secret Identity per se. But limit 1, Spirit Boost 1 for 1 energy. If your leader is Masked Saiyan basically, and you discard it, your opponent can either bottom deck alive or you play it. So early game, it's good at any stage of the game. Early game, your opponent's probably more likely to bottom deck alive, but that's still really good because that means that you maybe get that blue card in your discard pile for Broly or something else. If they don't, you get 2 swings for 1 energy, and then again, it's not that easy to remove unless you straight up swing into it, which is defendable at least. But yeah, this card is, I'm very excited about this card. It's it's better than I kind of imagined. I was hoping for just a solid card to finish the deck out, but this is really solid. So I've kind of gone over the cards a little bit. So let's start talking about a little bit of ideas. I've posted 5 ideas here just to kind of get started. I've got a lot brewing in my head just because I've played this leader so much, and I think the first and maybe the best idea that could come out of this deck is a sort of heartfelt plea rush, kind of what Dark Broly is doing right now. So the idea is on turn 3, going first, you would have to play the Dark Broly, or going second, you could play the Vindicator, the Overwhelm card that Dark Broly got in this new set, I believe. So the idea is, first couple turns you kind of do whatever. I don't know, maybe set up a Boo, draw a couple cards, play the Spirit Boost Minion, swing a couple times, get some early aggression in along with your leader. And then the idea is turn 3, you pay your 1 energy for your Dark Broly, you play him, gain crit, that's a swing. I've been, since the Spirit Boost Enigma card got revealed, I've been, debating whether it's better to play the 7 drop or just, keep more energy open when you awaken. But one idea is once you swing with the 6 drop, you can evolve the 7 drop on top of it. It restands, it has Deflect, and you could potentially get another crit in, and then you can awaken with your leader, play Heartfelt Plea, and then with that 1 energy, you can do Spirit Boost Enigma or the Minion, or if you already have them on board, something like that. Spirit Boost. Well, first of all, you would, get your leader mills and go up to 25 ideally, swing with your leader, draw, and then you play a Spirit Boost, restand your leader, take a life, and then swing again. Swing twice with that Enigma, because at that point your opponent's probably not going to want to sack a life if Heartfelt's on board. It's a huge threat. So if you're like at 4 awakening, you're not going to want to get rid of that life. Also, when Heartfelt Plea comes in, you're going to want to let me draw 2 as well. So I'm just going to get a lot of advantage out of all of that. So turn 3 overall can be pretty good. And then if you don't play the Vindicator, you can actually still overwhelm something else like Fighting Against Fates. That's another 2 swings. So I think turn 3 in this deck is going to be very, very good. Next, you've got like a sort of skillless idea. So something you can really do with this deck is go Rainbow for the Dark Broly, which is really good. And funny enough, a lot of the ideas I've been having actually don't really want to overwhelm, which is kind of funny because this leader used to be a very like overwhelm, like really versatile induced deck. So you would do a lot of stuff, a lot of actions per turn, and then you would have your like free overwhelm or low cost overwhelm. So it's kind of weird to think about how it might not want to overwhelm a lot of times, but with skillless, it's really easy to go Rainbow for the Dark Broly. You know me, guys. You also know that skillless is like my favorite engine in the game. So you've got Nimbus Master is colorless, Path to Power is colorless. So you can do your energy Rainbow for that Unison, for that Spirit Boost Unison to go up to 25 on maybe turn 4 or 5 depending on what you charge. You've got your Green Saiyaman. If you really want to and cycle your deck really fast, you could play something like the Higher Dragon and play 1-drop skillless cards early game. But there's a lot of options. Dimensional Support Trunks is probably one of my favorite cards. Creates a lot of pressure with 1 energy, 2 attacks. You can play Balmod for when you go really wide. So skillless is just a really good way to go Rainbow and maybe play Strength of Legends. Even though I have it right under as its own version, it's really easy to play Strength of Legends turn 4. So that's the next version. You have a sort of like Strength of Legends / Vegito SCR version. I'm not very fond of the Vegito SCR myself, personally. You're playing a burst deck, you could burst it. It's not searchable, you can't really recover it, so I'm not super into it, but it is definitely something you can do because you can go Rainbow really easily. So Strength of Legends is really easy to get out. With him and the Vegeta, probably. I don't know if you would play the Vegeta, but the Goku definitely, because it's free, and you can have something in a deck like Pretty Black Hole. It's just kind of the main engine. I wouldn't know what to build around it, but these are just kind of ideas to throw around. Next up is sort of like an overall fusion focus. Being a Black Saiyan only leader, you can play a lot of cards. You can play the Vegeta starter cards. Obviously the new starter deck cards, but more importantly, you can play the fusion cards like, Gogeta's not restricted to Saiyan, but you can play the 20k Gogeta that plays little guys. You can play Pai Gohan. You can play the TP Supreme Kai of Time, and you can play the other tournament pack Gogeta, the one that costs 3 martial melee. So there might be something there. You could do the Demigro Unison too, because you've got a Saiyan only leader. So there's Wormhole is really good. The only issue I can think about when it comes to that first is drawing, which is why I'm not super stoked about thinking about that version. But it's still possible. You just have to test it. A lot of this deck is gonna be, hey, I'm gonna build this idea and I'm just gonna test it. You just have to test it a lot because this deck is not like super straightforward. You have to build it. As broken as Mecha, something like Mecha is, you still have to build it from scratch. Green Gohan, it's just a leader. There's cards that make sense to run in it, but at the end of the day, you still have to build it from scratch. And then finally, we've got standard black-green, mainly because I normally play black-green when I got into set 10-11. I think black-green was the best version of Masked Saiyan. But the other reason is, if you paid attention and noticed, the starter deck cards, they're blue, yellow, and red. So for Broly, you're missing a green card. So what better way to fill in the green than by making it a black green deck? So I played a lot of like black stuff, good green stuff. Um, green as a color gives you really good removal options, which is great. So like you can play Demiga Unison, the Vegeta AOD Unison, Frieza Counterplay, Hot Arrow Love. Like there's a ton of really good removal options. So a good idea might be to have like your green engine be like a removal with like Demiga Unison or something like that, and then you have your like black starter deck engine filled with like aggro cards. There might be something there. Again, these are just ideas I'm throwing out at y'all to kind of think about. But yeah, and I just kind of wanted to make a video to talk about this because I'm like hashtag Craig God. I'm the Masked Saiyan guy, so I'm super stoked about this. Hopefully the upcoming ban list will fix some stuff, and there's other decks that can shine as well. But like I said, I think that with these starter deck cards alone, there's a possibility, I guess, that it gets some set support. But if that comes up, obviously you'll. I mean, I'm gonna be making a hell of videos about this anyway, because it's my favorite and it's what I do. It's what I'm here for, baby. So, with that being said, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you watched through, and if you did, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there's some helpful information here for you, coming from somebody that's like basically only played this for like half of my DBS career. But yeah, if you have any questions, please. Sorry, I can't talk. Please feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'm always free in the DMs. Just shoot me a message if you want. I've had people messaging me about stuff and talking to me. So if you just want to shoot me ideas or stuff like that, I'm always open to talk. And I appreciate you all as always. I always try to make my content as best as I can for you guys. So with that being said, PvE family, I will see you in the next one. Take care.